This is the number one mistake that every first time Ironman or even every first time triathlete or marathoner tends to make. And that number one mistake is they wait too long to begin worrying or begin concerning themselves with their nutritional strategy. I even personally made this mistake, even having many years under my belt in um, track, wrestling, any sport, you name it. I've been in sports my whole life. And when I first started training for my first Ironman, I repeatedly made this mistake and honestly didn't even pick up on the fact that it was a mistake until probably 2 years into my Ironman training. And that mistake is most people just do not eat enough food, and they do not eat enough of the food that they should be eating to sustain high levels of effort in your training and to promote adequate recovery. So tonight, I'm just gonna give you a sneak peek into what I personally eat, and I try to eat meals like this as often as possible. Nobody's perfect, and a lot of us work, a lot of us go to school, a lot of us have very busy lives, and it's not always the easiest to care about your nutrition. But one thing that is like my constant go-to, and it's because it literally takes me no effort, because I just use that rice cooker over there on my counter, and I put the rice in, put the water in, I turn it on, put it on the right setting, and then every single time I get perfect rice. This is white rice. I prefer jasmine or something along those lines. And this is a whole cup, uncooked, of rice. Now, as often as I can, especially when I'm in the thick of training, I eat this for dinner, especially if I had my workout at night. And to make the rice more palatable, some of you who follow me on Instagram actually know this from some of my stories that I've done, is I'll either use soy sauce, which I like absolutely love. I tend to use it like more than probably any other type of seasoning, if you want to call it a seasoning. So much so that at work on my desk, I have an even bigger bottle of soy sauce that me and a few other coworkers use when we have rice in the office, because we're pretty fit as a group of people. Now, the next thing that I always make sure to have in every single meal is a protein source. So usually for me, that is chicken breast or chicken tenders, because I personally prefer leaner meat. I'm not a huge chicken thigh person. I know it tends to be more flavorful, a little bit juicier, but wherever you get your protein, and this is going to seem contradictory because I am wearing a raw nutrition shirt, first priority in terms of where you get your nutrition in my mind is always whole foods. Like anyone who's pushing like using their supplements as the primary source of nutrition in your diet is misleading you and probably just trying to get you to spend tons of money on their stuff. And I believe that is unethical or unethical, whatever the proper terminology is. On the contrary, if you are getting, say, 90% of your daily caloric intake, protein goals, fat goals, and carbohydrate goals from whole foods, then I don't think there's anything wrong with topping yourself off with say a protein shake at the end of the day or in the morning or after a workout, or even like I enjoy specifically these raw nutrition electrolytes and fuel sources for during workouts. Like all that stuff is great and promotes good recovery, but I feel like some people have a tendency to harp on purchasing, like the easy stuff to get, which would be, I'll show you my stack right now. This is what I'm personally taking most days. This pretty much every day. Raw Replenish, which is a very strong electrolyte formula. This is definitely if you are in intense training, because it's got 1,000 milligrams of sodium, which is a lot, but the goal of that is to allow your body to rehydrate as quickly as possible and replenish your electrolyte depletion from the workout. So very important for warm weather training, indoor bike training where you're like just pumping out like tons of sweat, and then the raw fuel. And I'll typically use that either as a carb load on a long run or a long ride, or an intra workout fuel source. This is only 100 calories per scoop, but there's 60 scoops per serving. I'm used to, or I have been used to, GU Roctane, which is closer to like 300 calories per serving. And I would have typically about a bottle per hour in my training rides. Not as often on the runs. I think that the runs you're fine on just gels and whatever else, but those should always come secondary to proper diet and nutrition. Now that being said, if you want to know if you're under fueling, the signs will be there, but in my personal experience, the mind's ability to convince itself that the problem that it's facing is not, or is biased towards whatever you think the problem may be, is incredible. Like, you can have all the signs pointing in the direction of nutrition, and everything that you'll tell yourself instead is that you are overtraining or undersleeping or something along those lines, understretching. But I've said this before, and I've complained to my coaches in the past where I'd say like, oh, like I just feel horrible, my body's just breaking down, but my PRs kept increasing and my body just kept feeling worse and worse and worse. And my coach kept telling me, he's like, his top 3 questions to ask me constantly were, are you drinking enough fluids, are you eating enough, and are you sleeping enough? It wasn't, are you working out enough, or are you working out too hard? And it wasn't, are you stretching enough or stretching too much, even though I probably could have used some stretching. It was always those 3 as the first barrier of questions. So if I passed those 3, then, we could dig a little bit more into the potential issues. But if I'm being honest with myself and I'm saying like, well, I'm not really tracking my calories, and I didn't drink a lot of water today, and I got distracted at work, so I probably had like half the water I should have had for the day. It's like you're already hitting the core problem. And again, are you eating enough? Are you sleeping enough? And are you hydrating enough? Or are you drinking enough? So that's a little bonus framework to keep in mind, that we got to dig into the are you eating enough? But those are like the 3 core pillars of your performance and your just general well-being during training. I found that as soon as I changed up my diet and I started eating a bit more cleanly and not being shy to eat tons of carbs and tons of protein, my body bounced right back and I started feeling much, much better. Now, this brings up another point. There's a difference between being athletic and being aesthetic. So, a lot of people watch movies and they think that the most athletic people look the most athletic. And, sometimes that's the case, but sometimes the most shredded person in the gym is not the most fit. And I shouldn't even say sometimes because it's pretty much all the time. If you're at like a 2%, 3%, 4% body fat because you're doing a bodybuilding cut, if you try to run up or run down the block, you're not gonna do very well. The athletic range for body fat is somewhere between like 8 and 12%, and usually it's that low because the activity that the person is undergoing is so, or the level of activity is so high that no matter what they eat, their body just burns it. So they're not that fit, or they're not that low body fat because they're restricting their calories. They're that low body fat because they're that active. And this goes contrary to the whole abs are built in the kitchen, and that's probably true for like the general population. But if you look at how much like a real athlete is working out, these guys are training like 5-6 hours a day, like multiple sessions a day. They're probably burning like upwards of 3,500 to 4,000 calories every single day if you're performing at a high level. If you're more of an intermediate amateur like me, probably on your, probably on your heavier days, you're burning, I'll burn 3,200 calories. And if you can honestly say that I'm eating 3,200 to 3,300 calories of clean food every single day, then you're doing great. You're probably going to reap the best benefits of your training. I don't want to talk in circles too much here. I think you all get the gist. I have to eat dinner because right now the more I talk, the more I'm contradicting myself and saying that you really got to be careful and like make sure that you're getting the calories that you're supposed to be getting in. So that was a lot of information. I didn't even get to dig into what percentage of macros you should go for, what supplements might be best for your body, what, all the typical questions. But if you have a specific question, ask it in the chat and I will respond. Either, I'll do both. I'll respond in the comments and I'll probably make a video about that specifically in the future just to like cover all my bases. But if you want to try the supplements that I am affiliated with, then you can go on, I think I have a link tree in my channel bio. You can use that to get 10% off of everything at rawnutrition.com. My promo code is nlawrence809 or something like that. Again, just use that link and that'll take you there. And if you want to see a little bit more about, I guess I post more of my daily life and just every day, more random stuff, a little less structured, check out my Instagram too. But thank you again for watching, like and subscribe, and I will talk to you in the next video.